Hello, everyone. It is Monday, the 25th of March, 2024, and you get to see my face again. No, I'm just kidding. I did a video this morning, and fairly long, yet again. I get up early, though, and I do these videos because I like doing them, and it gets my name out there more so that the information that I'm sharing gets out there. That's the more important part. I took my dogs for a nice long walk. It's a nice day out here in Canada now, in Ottawa. Did some chores, followed up on some emails and phone calls and stuff like that. So I have a bit of a break again. And I wasn't necessarily going to do a video today again, but calcium phosphate, looked more to that. Looked more into that. I got to make sure I separate my words. And interesting things came up. I've talked about calcium phosphate and silver iodide and aluminum oxide and countless other friggin', whatever you want to call them, compounds that are being dispersed in various ways. But this is on Signal and access to information requests that have been submitted directly and indirectly through other friends that are also either still serving or former serving members of the Canadian Armed Forces, the Air Force specifically for these cases, and still waiting on information. And so I can't wait. So today, as I've mentioned like a million thousand times, not a number, but anyway, Helen Grus, her case is, her trial again is today. She has been put through the ringer, but she's such a friggin' hero and such a good person. And that is the type of person, okay, transcends skin color, race, religion, gender, all that friggin' stuff, biological sex. She would be a great friggin' leader. Well, she is a leader, but for Canada at the higher levels of government. So like Prime Minister, for example, would be her, not Justin Trudeau. And so I'm following up. So there are a lot of people in support at 211 Huntmar already. And I'm being told that people in the lobby were trying to kick them out, saying that they have no right to be there, that it's private grounds. But there's people that are former friggin' law enforcement that are also there in support of Helen. And they're like, actually, I'm fucking foreign law enforcement superintendent or chief or whatever. And this is public property and we have every right to be here, lady. Talking to another cop, like he's a former cop, talking to a cop, like, don't fucking lie to me. I was once your fucking boss. Like, sorry for swearing again. It's like, you think you're gonna fucking fool me? And so anyway, it's really great to hear that, it's overflowing outside into the sidewalk, onto the sidewalk, into the streets. So that was great news. Like I just got that information within the last hour. Someone gave me an update that's there. It's endearing, and it's a one-day court thing today. So I'll just do some presentations on it, just so you see what I'm talking about. Actually, before I get into that video, I'm going to show you just how character assassinated she was. And I would get these friggin' articles sent to me saying, Helen's not a hero, blah, 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 because I'd be reporting it. I'm like, first of all, blocked and go fuck yourself. And like, who are you, telling me that Helen's not a hero because of this article. And so you have people, Ottawa Police Board settles with family over invasion of privacy. Constable Helen Grus accused of improperly accessing records to determine parents' vaccination status. This was posted December 7th of 2023. So the Ottawa Police Service suspended Constable Helen Grus with pay in February 2022. That's a lie. It was January 30th of 2022. After she was accused and the police service act of improperly accessing records in an attempt to determine whether the parents of deceased children had been vaccinated against COVID-19 from Avanthika Anand. I'm wondering if Anita Anand, okay, who's also a criminal and guilty of treason, in my humble opinion, based on what my research, Anita Anand somehow still, again, stealing our friggin' money, a lobbyist, propagandist, and a liar. I wonder if they're related, but anyway. Has settled a civil claim involving an officer accused of invading a grieving family's privacy by inappropriately accessing a file related to the death of a child, etc. You can go through this. So the police disciplinary proceedings against her are ongoing. Okay, sorry, separate from the civil claim. Grus, you're going to hear from the grandfather, by the way. So like these people are so evil and disgusting. And they were trying to paint her out to be some kind of like a like a conspiracy theorist, like an extremist within her own department, like and she has over 20 years of service in the Ottawa Police Services, 7 in the sexual assault child abuse unit at Huntmar, and just like people like that to discredit her, and lie about her, and bring up things like that and spin things is just unfortunate. So, like, I already found out who this girl was, or possibly so. So you wrote a hit piece on my friend last year, and this is a good picture of you. You look to be morbidly obese. All right, and like nice nose ring and all this other stuff. Yep. So you, your stupid little hit piece. Oh, she, her, journalist, CBC Ottawa. DMs are open. Just like my life. Anyways, I don't know. I have no idea if she's a good person or not. But she's a propagandist and she's a liar. And again, peacefully, I'm going to, comment on her social media. I might write an email. I might phone and try to like give her some awareness on the actual facts about Helen Grus and how she's not a touch of the woman that this woman, Helen Grus, is like a real woman. Okay. And this fucking propagandist, again, putting out hit pieces on my fucking friend who's an actual hero, when she would never be anything like Helen. Anyway, I'll show the video regarding Helen, because you're not going to get a lot of stuff like that other than from Donald Best. Any reporting, or Brad Kraychik from Rebel News, reporting on her. And it's happening today. It's happening right now as I'm talking. And so I did get a video on it. Where is it? Why is it not coming up? Hold up. Sorry. I just had it up. Anyway, I'll put... No, I'm going to look for it. Sorry. Oh, here. I had it up. It's just... I don't have it fully up on YouTube. Wait a second here. Okay, I thought I had it up. So I'll just click and get it on YouTube. Okay. It was still coming up in the tabs as a search engine for Helen Grus, and not the actual video itself. Okay, so this is Brad Kraychik from Rebel News. This I don't know. This is Arbiter in Helen Grus Tribunal. Theories linking COVID vaccine to child deaths not welcome. I have not seen this one yet, but anyway.
That's my feeling. That's my personal opinion. And if that's the case, I think we should all be concerned about this.
The volume was low. Sorry.
Robert Kraychik reporting for Rebel News here in Ottawa, Ontario, on day 9 of the disciplinary tribunal of Constable Helen Grus. She's an Ottawa Police Service officer. She works
day 9, spanning over 2 years now.
In the sexual assault.
Actually, no, it's sorry. The court hearing started just this past August, so almost a year.
And child abuse unit, SACA.
Like a half year.
And she's being accused of discreditable conduct. And if she's found guilty of this allegation, she could be either demoted or terminated.
Arrested.
Now, what did she do that led to the OPS accusing her of this?
That was Chris Renwick that was just walking out. Like that guy is the one that needs to be on trial.
Misconduct. Well,
not overseeing it.
She was investigating. She was inquiring about a possible linkage between the vaccine status of mothers and infant deaths. In other words, whether or not there was any relationship between these so-called COVID-19 vaccines received by mothers with young children and deaths of their infants. I want to remind you folks out there in our dear audience that we can't do this in the field reporting for free. We need your financial support to continue doing these operations, this important journalism. So please visit rebelfieldreports.com, help us out, and stay up to date with our ongoing reporting. So the day's proceedings were largely dedicated to dealing with ongoing objections from the prosecution against the introduction of certain documents as evidence from the defense. The first example I'll share with you folks is an email chain between Helen Grus and her top supervisor at the time in the SACA unit, Staff Sergeant Shelley Rossetti, who testified as a witness today. So this email chain that the defense has.
So Shelley Rossetti was her boss that she should have rightfully given the information to. Again, people like me were giving her the information and giving it to higher, like obviously like you're supposed to do. And that person went against her in a court of law.
In its possession was not permitted to be entered into the tribunal as evidence, as Chris Renwick, who is the tribunal officer, the de facto judge over this hearing, agreed with the prosecution. The prosecution's justification for this objection was that somehow it is violative of
call telling him to
public privilege, which
that's what I said.
Supposedly means that the public interest would be undermined if information in this email chain was revealed to the public, presumably confidential information or the auto police services methods of operation, somehow investigatory operations would be compromised.
Well, first of all, this quote was nothing more
than
what's been happening all along.
He's been great at reporting what's been going on, and he's someone that's also been like former law enforcement of service like for 30 something years, and then started speaking out against stuff that he knew was illegal from within, just like I'm doing. And then someone that became a target. People that had the power, that had an ego, didn't like what he was saying because he was sharing criminality that was happening, and he was exposing the people that were committing the crimes. And because they had the power and they had the authority, they used it against the people that he swore an oath. They swore an oath to serve and protect. So double awful
in this trial. And this is what trials officer Chris Renwick said here at the Detective Grus trial. This hearing cannot and will not be a venue for opinions and theories linking vaccines to child deaths.
Yep. And so Chris Renwick again, how about you look at the facts that make the links? Okay, the facts that we were giving. The facts that I've already shared repeatedly for the last few years on my social media. People can access the references and the stats and all that stuff. The VAERS reported from Pfizer directly, not even Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, Novavax, none of those included, just Pfizer. The debunked original trials, you got all that. The fact that Ontario Public Health was overinflating numbers. And even before they overinflated the numbers, they already calculated 50% more deaths. I showed this. Theories! You're paranoid! These are just theories! No, they're facts.
Robert, that's what this trial is all about.
He needs to be jailed.
But they're doing everything they can to shut down any evidence that would give a reason why Detective Grus did what she did. She obeyed her oath. She obeyed her instincts, and her professionalism was outstanding.
Yep.
And she wondered,
she's a warrior,
whether or not there was anything to do, any relation, any possible relation between vaccinated mothers and the sudden, unexpected deaths of breastfeeding babies. And for that, they've charged her. They shut down her investigation, and this statement by the
Helen might be
officer,
looking too.
effectively the judge here today. It's a
Helen and her family might, after all of this, like that's a lot of trauma, right? Like I don't know. I would totally get it if Helen was like, after all of this is over, if she was like, Canada, I'm out. Fuck you. Like no one's like, what the fuck? Oh my god, because again, over $100,000 in court fees. Like I was just talking to her, anyway, the other day, just over text.
Bruno
Telegram
was, in effect,
we're gonna lose people, or potentially lose more people like Helen Grus for people like Chrystia Freeland. and that Avanthika, whatever friggin' girl, you know, that did the hit piece on a fucking warrior over 20 years in. Like the friggin' nerve of like some like journalists, like these friggin' entitled. Oh my God.
For big pharma. The rules that are happening here are nothing to do with courts as we know them. And unfortunately, and we've heard it said time and time again during this hearing and back in August, the trials officer, the judge, is not a judge. He's has no legal training, but the rules that he makes up, that he determines, have real legal strength, and he can basically do what he wants. And we're seeing that.
And he's
another objection from the prosecution that was largely upheld.
He's impacting her on so many levels, right? The psychological level, the emotional, like all of that stuff, spiritual, and
Chris Renwick, again, the tribunal officer, de facto judge in this hearing, was the introduction of a duty book, a police workbook, as evidence in this hearing. Specifically, Shelley Rossetti's notebook, which she brought with her as a witness. She had it in her possession in the witness stand. The defense wanted to cross-examine Rossetti on the basis of that notebook. And again, the prosecution opposed to that, saying that the public disclosure of this notebook would somehow be violative of, again, public privilege. And Renwick, who is, by the way, not a lawyer by training, but
it's because it helped Helen's case instrumentally, because she's by the book way more than even me. Okay, like I operate way more in the gray. Okay, and there's other people that she knows, and I know that, you know, that they also work more in the gray. So that's why we know she's more by the book, not committing any crimes.
A tenured, decades-long retired auto police service officer, he agreed with the prosecution and basically denied almost any entry of that notebook into the hearing as evidence. So I spoke with Jason Unruh. He is writing with True North. He was in the proceedings all day, and he made some remarks about this sort of gossipy, rumor-filled environment within the SACA unit in which Helen Grus worked. And this assessment comes from the testimonies of SACA officers who were invited as witnesses to testify for the prosecution. And I'll share some of the words they use that illustrates this point. They use terms in their testimony, such as anti-vaccine and anti-vaxxer, to
I'll get to that. This building that he's at right now, that was like within a kilometer away from my house that I was at in Stittsville for over 5 years, that I fled. And as I was trying to flee, people were like preventing me from even fucking selling through the whole thing and stuff like that. And she was in my network, you know, and so were other people that I can't talk about that were working at this very fucking station that he's at right there. Again, this is triggering to even watch, because I'm like, oh, I fucking know that building. I pass it every fucking day, multiple times a day. And I've been in it and had role players in it, including people that worked there that I was talking to on Telegram and Signal and stuff like that. And we were the ones getting called anti-vaxxers. That's why I assumed my phone was likely tapped, because someone that worked in this building, okay, covert law enforcement types and stuff like that, he's like, Don, your phone's probably fucking tapped. And I'm like, oh, like, fuck, why? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm like, this is World War II all over again, where the people that are actually trying to like fight the good fight are going to get friggin', you know, executed. You know, it's just like friggin' Adolf Hitler when he first got into power. Like within the first like day, I think there was like over 1,000 people executed from within the German government that were like speaking out on like what all the crazy stuff everyone was doing. We're just like, everyone's a fucking mess. They were just saying like, you know, everyone's a fucking mess right now. This country's a dumpster fire. We need to fix it. Even academics. And they were rounded up and executed. And there were people that actually did that for Adolf Hitler. Like he is the one that wrote down the policies, you know, or the whatever you want to call it, the measures, and people did it. They executed people literally like Helen Grus for people like Justin Trudeau and Adolf Hitler types. You know, I'm not saying that they're the same. I'm giving examples of people that are leaders and current leaders and previous leaders.
Describe Helen Grus. We know these are nonsense, derogatory terms used by people. It comes from the testimonies of SACA officers who were invited as witnesses to testify for the prosecution. And I'll share some of the words they use that illustrates this point. They use terms in their testimony, such as anti-vaccine and anti-vaxxer, to describe Helen Grus. We know these are nonsense, derogatory terms used by people who are fully on board and aligned with.
And that was with someone that has over 20 years service and over 7 years in that building. So do you imagine the people that were not cops, that they didn't want to like respect and admire, like how they treated us? Not nice. It wasn't nice.
What I call the COVID-19 enterprise.
Like that 82-year-old veteran guy that got his house cleared. I showed that video this morning. Not nice.
We also heard testimony from police officers stating that they had heard, although none of them could confirm that they heard it firsthand from Grus, that Grus believed there were nanobots and tracking devices inside these so-called COVID-19 vaccines. I also heard the term in the first week of this
tribunal, we ever say that?
Conspiracy, used as shorthand for conspiracy theorist in reference to Helen Grus. So the reason I'm sharing these testimonies with you and Jason's assessment of these testimonies is that it illustrates an environment in the SACA unit of antipathy or suspicion towards Helen Grus. A couple other examples I'll share with you. There was also an unconfirmed rumor.
So, and I'll unconfirm the rumors and stuff like that. Even with this nanobot bullshit, like, what are you talking about? And again, I've never said that. She's definitely likely never said that. I don't know. Again, I'm not watching all the trials and stuff like that. It's never anything that we've discussed. I've never got anything shared about nanobots from anyone from OPS, Ottawa Police Services, or OPP. So I don't. So again, these rumors that they're making up, this is people taking shit that they hear from other people or from people that are making fun of anti-vaxxers that we're not saying, and they're correlating. They were correlating with it. They were correlating that or those assumptions with anyone that was speaking out against the therapeutics, just because again of the adverse events that were happening. Because we were also talking with people. Because within our community, I've also hired doctors as role players and facilitators as well as part of these courses I was teaching to DART and global affairs and stuff like that. But they were also giving me information saying things like, hey, like when this they didn't say, well, they do too. Some doctors say pandemic. Some nurses say pandemic, the whistleblower types. And they were saying that it was once the vaccines rolled out, like that is when really it was overwhelmed in the hospital rooms and ER, and since then there's been a lot of increases in cancers and blood clots and herpes and micropenis and all of these things and measles. Like again, I've shared these are VAERS that were reported. Okay, so why do you think that they're out why do you think it's out there now more prevalent and stuff like that? I was getting this from people that were the first responder types that were treating these people, right? Giving the assessments. Hey, it wasn't this bad last year when they first said this, etc. It was like very similar to flu season, and questions asked. And then people that were talking to people within the morgues, because again, that's connected too. And the people I talked to, because even for some of my role playing scenarios, there's also with people that work in consulates and embassies, if there are people that are from their country that pass away, there are people that do make that confirmation from the consulates and stuff like that. So like diplomats, and they will go to hospitals or morgues, like wherever Canadians are deceased, to assist with the repatriation, whatever you want to call it, like bring them back to the country, to the home country, and confirm that it's the actual person, and stuff like that. So I had also built that many years ago into the courses I was teaching. And so in my network, it's not like I was just going on YouTube and and getting my fucking my information from from Google, that was not happening. And Helen wasn't either. Like she was getting it on the ground.
That she had violated.
She was on the ground, responding to the families, that lost their friggin' babies, and that's hard to deal with, right? Not an easy job.
Some sort of lockdown or capacity limit at some hockey rink that she had rented out for her children and others to play at.
She's so Canadian.
And also when she didn't show up to work,
I gotta rewind
after this illustrates an environment in the SACA unit of antipathy or suspicion towards Helen Grus. A couple other examples I'll share with you. There was also an unconfirmed rumor that she had violated some sort of lockdown or capacity limit at some hockey rink that she had rented out for her children and others to play at. And also when she didn't show up to work after this so-called vaccine mandate was imposed in its subunits, there were these inferences made that she didn't take the so-called COVID-19 vaccine, and therefore they made assessments about her based on that. So again, this just illustrates a sort of culture and attitude of suspicion towards Grus, and gives you an insight into at least how some of the people who work at the OPS think about this entire COVID-19 enterprise.
Well, what we've seen from the start, and I'll include August hearings as well, which took place August 14th to 18th, the series of prosecution witnesses that the police brought forward in their prosecution against Helen Grus basically indicated that Detective Grus was very much alone in her views about vaccine safety, also the efficacy of other pandemic restrictions, the masking, the testing, and so on and so forth. So it was created an atmosphere, well, I believe it created an atmosphere of isolation for her. And this happened physically too, as she was shipped off from working at the downtown police station to working at Huntmar Road here. The fear was that because she was unvaccinated, you know, she presented a risk to her colleagues, members of the public that are interacting with her colleagues for various reasons, investigations, and so forth. So she was isolated. She was alone in her views about COVID, and so this I think was the catalyst for, I would describe them as gossip, rumors about her, which we heard today. You know, that she booked a hockey rink for her children to use in Kemptville, and the rumor going around the office was that she was going to lie about the vaccination status of her children, when in fact at that point in time, when she rented the rink, there was no vaccination mandate for children under 18. So it was just completely made up.
And this is how Canadian she is. Literally renting a hockey rink for her friggin' kids and their friends, and people literally vilifying her for that. And it did take its toll, and I can confirm that. And someone that else I can't talk about, but as a man, he's an immigrant who came to Canada from I don't want to say too many details. And I've also worked with him on the higher level training stuff. You know, I've hired him for these courses. And again, he's someone that I was absolutely closely, personally, like all day, every day talking to about this stuff. And he was also working with her. They worked together, and he was also working there. And so like, that's why I'm very close to this case, and I can speak to it. And he was going through such a rough time, and he ended up, I don't want to say too, no, I will say it. Like, he gained a lot of weight, and this guy was like, never like one to be unfit and stuff like that. And he almost got divorced, and she actually left and went back to like the home country and stuff like that for a while. I hope things are getting better now and stuff like that. And they had kids, and like, and she was was vaccinated and really pushing him to do it, because again, I'm getting suspended and all this other stuff. It really took its toll, and it breaks my heart, because like, he even visited me at my house and stuff like that. Like, all through all of this, friggin' another cop, you know, from the same friggin' station, and just like hearing what he was going through, it's just fucking like, oh, fucking assholes, man.
The defense's desire to introduce expert witnesses, presumably physicians or scientists or virologists, to testify. And what would Chris Renwick's decision over that, whether or not they're permitted, look like, given the fact that he's already said previously on Monday, I recall, that this hearing, this tribunal, will not be a venue, that's a quote, for theories, another quote, regarding injuries or harms associated with the so-called COVID-19 vaccines. So what's up with this like pending witness application?
Well, this is another theme that's emerged time and again in this case, where there's an inconsistency. So like you said, the other day, Chris Renwick states that this court will not, or this tribunal will not be a venue for opinions or theories about the safety concerns, dangerous effects of the COVID vaccine. well, tomorrow the defense is going to make submissions for expert witnesses to presumably talk about just that. And so this goes back to Sergeant Rossetti today testifying that, you know, she respected Detective Grus, she considered her a friend, and that the door was always open for Detective Grus to come in and talk about any question or any concern she had, personal or work related, except for COVID. Because there was an email today, and it's been discussed previously, but it was brought into evidence today that Sergeant Rossetti wrote Detective Grus an email and instructed her not to talk about COVID in the office. So which is it?
I should stop doing that.
This is where we're left at. It's just been a strange pattern through this entire tribunal about you know what is acceptable discourse. I mean, what was acceptable discourse in the office, and then in the tribunal, what's acceptable evidence? And it's just objection after objection for what I think are or is evidence that is germane to this case, right? Notes between officers who are involved in Sergeant Arbuthnot's professional standards unit investigation, right? The defense is still trying to get some of these notes, electronic communications, still trying to see those, still trying to see the second duty book, right? That could contain exculpatory evidence. So, it seems there, and Vanessa Stewart, the prosecutor, said this today, you know, that this is a regulatory issue, right? All these other matters are for agree. If Detective Grus has a grievance about how she was treated, then that's another venue, and then
labor relations.
Yeah, labor relations. I mean, if Detective Grus believed that there was a criminal negligence with respect to sudden infant deaths in connection to the vaccine, that's a homicide issue. So it leaves.
So that's why we're pushing this. That's why he's there. That's why he's talking about it. That's why I'm still talking about it. That's why there's a lot of people at Huntmar right now as we friggin' speak there, okay? Because we can't let this just drop and go away no matter how much they try to intimidate us, bully us, go to our friggin' houses with their friggin' SUVs in the middle of the friggin' night, like multiple friggin' men. Crazy. We still gotta fucking talk about it because again, it was for Canadians and for kids.
I think it leaves me wondering, you know, what is the SACA unit detectives' responsibility in investigating sudden infant deaths, and if we're going by testimony we've heard this week, then it's just sort of like looking over the coroner's shoulder and making sure that all the answers on the questionnaire are filled out, and if that's the case, then it's case closed, right? As Detective Tara Anderson testified, most sudden infant deaths are ruled unascertained. So just as one guy watching all of this, I've seen every single day of the hearings, it leaves me to believe that, maybe there wasn't a lot of interest in probing sudden infant deaths in general. That's my feeling. That's my personal opinion. And if that's the case, I think we should all be concerned about this.
Yes. It's just
Dear Rebel News audience, if you value and appreciate our in the field reports, please remember that we benefit from your financial support so that we can continue delivering this journalism to you. So please visit rebelfieldreports.com. Help us out and stay up to date with our ongoing reporting.
Amazing. So journalists like that, I have a profound amount of respect for, because they actually go and report the real news. Like he's in Ottawa. Okay, so even reporting that, like I'm sure he gets trolled and death threats on a daily basis, even now, right? Like especially like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Oh my God, when it first rolled out, death threats, and again, even law enforcement here, acting as the enforcers. Terrifying fucking times. Oh my God, it was fucking crazy fucking times. I can't even believe it. I'm gonna look back on these times though and maybe laugh. You know, maybe I'll laugh. You know, when I'm like 80 and be like, haha, all this fucking crazy stuff. You know, but I don't. But not yet. I'm not there yet. Helen's still in the courts today. Like, what the fuck? And these dumb. Anyway. So, completely different topic. Dead as a dietary supplement. Dead are liquefied and fed to the living. So I went down like a little bit of a rabbit hole regarding calcium phosphate, which is also one of the compounds, or I don't know what you would call it, that is on the list for if these are any particles that are being dispersed within the environment, within the atmosphere, or the atmosphere, whatever you want to friggin' call it, whether it be via contrails or chemtrails, and however you want to classify it, and look at calcium phosphate. And is it good for us? Is it bad for us? Is it good for us at high quantities? Is it what happens at high doses? Where does it come from? Do you know where calcium comes from? Calcium phosphate? Well, I'll give you a hint. That's in the title. I don't know.
When they're feeding the dead to the living, you know the end is near. When they're feeding the dead to the living, you know the end is near.
Oh yeah, and
Check out this.
And do you take calcium supplements? And what kind of calcium supplements do you take? And do you know where that calcium comes from?
This death chamber.
Even the enriched products, right? You've got drinks, for example, that are enriched with vitamin D and calcium.
This washing machine. They call it.
Where does the calcium come from?
Where they liquefy the dead and then dump the remains down the drain to be recycled
the
into municipal water supply. And so people are drinking it, they're showering in it, they're doing their laundry in it, and this is happening in most states across the country. In most major cities, they're recycling dead people and feeding it to the living. What does that mean exactly? And they're grinding up the bones into powder. They call this calcium phosphate, which is going to be used for food processing, undoubtedly. Maybe in your vitamins. And so what are the implications when...
Who knows? I'm not saying that this is true or not.
People
we're just looking
dead
at
people
together.
Like cannibalism. Ow. Is there going to be Kuru running around out there?
And is that considered cannibalism?
Mad cow disease. What about in a spiritual sense? What is that like when you're eating and drinking dead people? Of course, they're spraying this on the food supply. Irrigation. They're using dead people as compost, and people are drinking it. So what does that mean? What does that feel like? Ladies and gentlemen, obviously this is another satanic ritual that's being performed before our very eyes. And essentially people are being raped by this death juice as they're forced to drink it. Talk about drinking the Kool-Aid. Now they're drinking dead people in the major cities. That's why they're all crazy in these big cities.
I mean, these
they're
are all like
dead people.
There's not a lot of proof yet, right? We need proof.
And they keep finding human DNA in the food supply. What do you think that's all about? It's probably not just aquamation, but they're probably grinding babies and who knows what else in these meat processing plants so that people will eat human flesh without even knowing it. That's how these cult members get their kicks, ladies and gentlemen, quite literally. So aquamation has been around for about 10 years now, and it's spread to nearly every state and every major city because they're running out of space, they say, in the cemeteries. They just can't build a new one outside of town, so they're going to liquefy you. And it's like the movie The Matrix. How long before people end up in pods like this, connected to the Matrix? Probably sooner than you think, ladies and gentlemen. We're well on our way to transhumanism and assimilation. But this is some scary technology. because this can be deployed in all sorts of different ways, and people can disappear and just end up down the drain. Don't ask us what the video guy is doing on vacation. So there's all sorts of different models and all sorts of different types according to the reports. There's the hardcore hydrolysis, and then there's the soft hydrolysis. And the difference is the temperature and the time it takes to dissolve a body. It can take between 3 hours and 8 hours. So imagine you've got a laundromat like this somewhere. How many people can disappear in a day in a laundromat just like this with these types of washing machines? Undoubtedly, we'll be seeing facilities like these connected to the quarantine camps in the beginning. Of course, after a while, they just won't care anymore, and you'll start seeing the smokestacks coming from these quarantine facilities saying it's for your protection. But obviously, if we're to the point where we're liquefying the dead and feeding it to the living and calling it organic or environmental, you know, people on television have gone mental, that these people in the cities have gone mental, and it's just without a doubt.
Not everyone.
Talking to these people is useless. They don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear. Call it your imagination. These crazies will call you crazy and say, this is perfectly fine. This is perfectly natural. This is science. Look at that.
Those could be fake bones too,
They
right?
got no problems putting the bones into a meat grinder, putting it into a bag, and saying, oh, we got some calcium phosphate. It's no longer human remains anymore.
You know, unless
These are
I
just chemicals.
test it myself or trusted someone.
And so they're going to end up in the food supply. They're going to end up as fertilizer. And people are drinking this right now. And again, what kind of effect does this have when you drink something like this? When you drink wine, I mean, you get drunk, right? What happens when you're drinking this type of juice? You hear about the cult members drinking the adrenochrome. What about the average sheeple that's being fed this death juice? What does that do to them? Obviously turns them into zombies. Obviously, these people are going to be vibrating at a different frequency, at a very low frequency. But you just can't imagine dumping this into the water supply. But they do. You've heard of the expression from crap to tap. Pardon that expression, but that's what they're doing. They've been feeding people, you know what, literally, not just on the television, but literally, they're feeding people crap. And they've been doing this for years. And now they're feeding the city dwellers dead people. But it tastes, you know, it tastes just like tap water. You ever wonder why your tap water comes out cloudy and then it dissipates, turns clear? That's all the chemicals doing their magic. It's kind of like disappearing ink in a sense. They can just add chemicals to water, to dark water, and make it look transparent. But that's besides the point. You don't even want to know what you're drinking out of the tap water. And of course, they're using all of the groundwater for fracking and other things. So people's wells are drying up.
Yes.
Your only choice.
Crops, vegans. I mean, again, not all vegans. I'm saying like just the cults. Okay, and every friggin' even within Christianity, there are cults. I said what I said. There's beautiful people. The majority of people within Christianity is beautiful. Same as Islam, the same as Jewish people, etc. In fact, my lawyer is Jewish, you know, and he's a fucking amazing lawyer. I didn't want to say that before because everyone's gonna like stereotype me, like, oh, of course, they're lawyers and Jewish, you know. It's like because usually Jewish people are lawyers or bankers. So that's the running joke. Anyway, whatever.
To drink the tap water for the most part. And most of the bottled water is just tap water.
But there are some extremists within all organizations, is all I'm saying.
Most of the stuff that you find at the grocery store or the gas station, it's no better than this. It's probably even worse. And this is why We talk about it all the time. They're poisoning the water. Not just with fluoride, not just with
At least I'm
crack
fairly
juice,
certain
not
my
just
lawyer's
with
Jewish. I haven't
PFAS,
outright
which is
asked him. There's just a lot of
perfluorinated chemicals, forever
I
chemicals.
shouldn't assume.
You're not just getting pharmaceuticals and
His last
other
name is a big
things in the
cup.
water supply, but now you're getting an infusion of dead people.
Anyway.
Think about that. And so what people are drinking, it's horrible. And of course,
okay, so there are mentions of this being a practice. Again, not being dumped in water. I've seen zero proof of it in any calcium phosphate from human remains or pet remains going into any water systems. There's been I haven't seen any whistleblowers. I haven't seen any friggin' direct links. I haven't seen any purchases made and making that financial link either. Like I've seen none of that stuff ever. So that's the first I'm hearing about that specifically. So that would be interesting to me if people could get me more proof on that. I would absolutely take a look at it. So I was just taking a look. I'm doing this with you guys on the fly here. So like water cremation. I looked at liquefaction before. Actually, I can go back into that. There's water cremation, aquamation. So yeah, like USA Today saying no, aquamation isn't used to feed the dead. But again, I don't just go off of like my first few results. You know, like with AP News, like they're not credible. They're definitely not credible, and so I'm already skipping past them. I don't care about anything that they say. Yeah, there's just like a lot of like, and even obviously Wikipedia is not a reputable source. And I say that because a lot of people can just do editing on their own and hack it and easily hack it and actually change the information. Anyway, so water cremation, it's called alkaline hydrolysis. So that's interesting. Also called biocremation, resomation, flameless cremation, aquamation, or water cremation is a process for the disposal of human and pet remains using lye and heat, and is an alternative to burial or cremation. So let's see what lye is. A lye is an alkali metal hydroxide. Traditionally, it was obtained by using rainwater to leach wood ashes. Interesting. Which are strongly alkaline and highly soluble in water. Of their potassium hydroxide, KOH, producing lye water, a caustic basic solution, then the lye water would either be used as such. Anyway, I'm going on. So like very interesting. So the process is based on alkaline hydrolysis. A molecule of water breaks one or more chemical bonds. The term is used broadly for substitution, elimination, and salvation reactions. Correct. At least my understanding of it. Anyway, the body is placed in a pressure vessel that is then filled with a mixture of water and potassium hydroxide. So there's even like that's also like in contrails, there's allegedly, again, I need to see them confirm it on paper, after, like with an access to information request received, reviewed, assessed. I need proof, right? But these are all there's strong links and stuff like that, and already government sites that have already like done some admittance, but again, that it's been done, but not that it's being done. Heated to a temperature around 160 degrees Celsius, 320 degrees Fahrenheit, but at an elevated pressure, which prevents boiling. Instead, the body is effectively broken down into its chemical components, which takes approximately 4 to 6 hours. So this could also be seen as something that is natural. So even contrails are being classified as natural because what they're alleging, the particulates, whatever you want to call it, that's being dispersed or disposed of, outwards, are considered to be like part of the element, like the periodic table, part of the elements, which is bullshit. Easily crushed in the hand. Although a cremulator is more commonly used. What's a cremulator? It is a method of final disposition of a dead body through burning via cremation. Anyway. The alkaline hydrolysis process has been championed by a number of ecological campaigning groups for using 90, whatever you want to call it, kilowatts of electricity, 1/4 the energy of flame-based cremation. and producing less carbon dioxide and pollutants. Okay, so like I don't understand why they always say carbon dioxide and pollutants. Okay, like because they when you even just like lump it into the same friggin' sentence, like you are making people think that carbon dioxide is a pollutant. It's not. It's a gas. We need it. Plants need it. Trees need it. Can be very beneficial. Carbon in general, multiple different uses and purposes. So let's see what else here. I was going to share regarding that before I get back into the video. I'll get back into the video, see what else it says. I don't know if anything new is going to be said.
The ultimate side effect from all of this is cancer and other neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and the like. But they're never going to link it to the source. They're just going to say, oh, well, looks like you got the cancer. Here comes the chemo. Here comes the radiation, right? Because that's big business. And so when a system is this corrupt, when they're poisoning everybody through every means possible, the food, the water, the air, the education.
Okay, I just went on my own little friggin' rabbit hole. And just like a random search that I friggin' did, just like talking about milk, and I just said calcium phosphate milk, and then oat milk came up, and so I'm going to do a lot more research on that. But how friggin' interesting would that be? Again, I'm not alleging anything. Just theories. This is just definitely a theory at this point. Like, can you imagine if like calcium phosphate from like humans and pets were put into friggin' oat milk and soy milk and stuff like that as like the enriched calcium portion? Oh my God, that would be so fucking awful. I'm laughing, but it's just because I mean, like spitting and everything. I'm sorry, just like. Anyway, we need to look more into this. So if anyone's like into the investigation stuff, like I would, Don189@protonmail.com is my email address. I'll say that for like in as many videos as I can remember, but like how much of a friggin' link would that be? Like, actually, should I just keep on going with this? Oh my God. Calcium phosphate nanoclusters. Oh, fudge. It's not looking good, vegans. Oh my God. See, and it's, you know, and so when there are vegans that,
on the television,
when there are vegans that, try to cancel me, right? Like I understand that, like they don't agree with everything I say. Of course, I understand that. Like no one will, and no one should. But canceling me, like maybe you wouldn't have came up with that possible connection. Like I need to do more research. But like look at your almond milk and your oat milk and your fortified milks and stuff like that that are seen as these vegetarian, vegan options and fruitarian options, and actually see like what is they're being enriched with for your micronutrients that you think that you're getting from other sources. If you're getting and you're feeling healthy and stuff like that, when you have like your friggin' soy milk or your oat milk, like maybe it's anyway, I won't even say it. Crazy, wild times.
Programming. When they're spraying you with bioweapons.
Like I'm not eating humans here, right? Like I don't drink the soy milk or the oat milk or anything like that. I'm not saying that it's in them. I'm not saying this at all. But I'm saying like I don't drink that. Like I drink the raw milk from animals more and from farms and shit like that, and like or the real stuff. So because like I mean you can get sick and die from eating human flesh and stuff like that. So like I'm assuming that like a lot of waste products from humans would not be healthy, right? Except for urine. Urine might be actually good for us.
And trying to inject you with their Franken jab. You know, these people are out to get you.
I gotta do more.
Surrounding you with death towers.
Again, I don't know yet. I'm just looking at it.
It's like
now.
a Stephen King movie out there. And it's only going to get worse, ladies and gentlemen. That's why people really have to take back control of what's going on here. Because this is not acceptable. Feeding this to children. This death juice to children is not acceptable.
Oh my God.
Feeding it to our
baby
neighbors
powder
is
and toothpaste and acids.
Libtards, of course. Just kidding. Maybe. But it's sad. It's sad.
I just did a search. Calcium phosphate in food. So calcium phosphate is a class of compounds. Wait, I'll just like zoom in. Is a class of compounds containing one or more calcium and phosphate ions. Tricalcium phosphate is commonly used as an anti-caking agent or nutritional supplement, while dicalcium phosphate is often used as a dough conditioner. Don't use that anymore, please. Anyways, calcium is abundant in dairy products, household products like baby powder and toothpaste, and antacids. Tricalcium phosphate can be used in vegan foods and is allowed in organic products in the US. Calcium supplements can be taken with food, and vitamin D can help calcium absorb better in the gut. That is correct. Vitamin D can help calcium absorb in the gut. That's true. Anyway, monocalcium No, that's another Robert. No, focus. Monocalcium phosphate serves as a, I have to force myself to focus right now. Monocalcium phosphate serves as a raising agent for chemically leavened baked goods, baking powders, prepared cake mixes, self-rising fucking flour, some pancake mixes, and more. Interesting. Rabbit holes, man. Oh my God. Wow.
And that people have been turned into
beverages,
walking,
dietary
talking
supplements. Yeah.
zombies.
Where's it coming from? I just want to know where it's coming from.
A literal echo chamber for the mainstream media. That's all they can do is repeat what's on television. It's so sad. It's such a sad world that we live in right now, especially in these cities. Nature still retains its beauty, but as soon as you start talking to people from the cities,
I just gotta stop.
as soon as you start talking to people that watch the television, you know there's something wrong, terribly wrong with these people. And there's no helping them. And so it's a sad situation. It's a very sad situation, but there needs to be a reset. We need to take back control of this world, ladies and gentlemen. And it looks like this pandemic is the perfect opportunity. And so undoubtedly things are going to change rather quickly in the next few months. But we're expecting things to get crazy during this next winter into the next spring. Now, you guys are going to want to follow the Telegram feed the best you can, because that's where a lot of the action is. Be sure to get the desktop version, because we're getting a lot of reports of interference from the Beast system. And so they're managing to shadow ban some people that still have the app from the App Store. If you got Apple, you're kind of stuck with that app unless you get the jailbreak version. But essentially, you're going to want to get the desktop version. Check out the Telegram every day. Best news stories from the internet are going to show up there. And
I've already mentioned before about aspartame being human and E. coli feces. Yep. If you're just listening and you just heard that, I said that correctly. I've shared the proof before in earlier videos. I've talked about Synomics, and I'll just share again, just as a friendly reminder to people. What a weird, this is what my search was. Natural flavors fetuses. That was my search engine. So anyways, like the first one, like, so AP News, I always scroll past because like they're fake news. McGill, has good and bad. Nope, definitely not. ABC. Oh my God, no. Wikipedia, let's just say what they say about Synomics. They're not going to admit, the allegations, like the possible link between Synomics and possible link with Planned Parenthood, I'll say. I don't know how much I can say, or what Planned Parenthood does, right? And so people think, anyway. And they're called natural flavors. So when you look at that, at companies that say that they're using natural flavors, and they're companies that have settled a lot of things in court. You know, I paid a lot of fines in court because of things that they've done that harmed and killed countless people. Maybe consider taking a look more into newer products that come out with, right? When, you know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me twice, like 10,000 times. Like I don't even know anymore. Like, learn the lesson already, Jesus. Like, just learn the lesson. Just learn it, please. And so, yeah, on that note, if there's no questions or comments or anything like that, I will leave it at that. I hope that the case with Helen honestly just turns in the right direction. It's going to be, it's getting attention from Parliament finally. And maybe just because, again, they were shamed and forced into paying attention to it finally, because it's been over 2 years that it's been in the media. But again, like, there's not a lot of people reporting it. It's people like Brad, was it Brad, or anyway, from Rebel News that reports. And even in Rebel News, like, I don't even like everything that Rebel News talks about, right? There's certain people that are part of Rebel News that I don't listen to. They're propagandists, they're liars. And but there are a few that are good. And so anyways, on that note, I will leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.